7:14 a.m. You reach for your phone as if guided by instinct. Emotion so deeply ingrained in your body, you do not even need to open your eyes. Your fingers touch the screen, waiting for that familiar glow, waiting for the red notifications, waiting for the world to rush in with a single tap. But today, nothing happens. No Wi-Fi, no 4G, not even a faint signal bar lingering in the corner of the screen. Just a cold, empty silence. You frown. Maybe the modem is acting up. Maybe the carrier is doing maintenance. You step out of bed, flip the switch, stare at the motionless indicator lights, like eyes that have gone dark. Outside on the balcony, your neighbor stands with a phone in hand, gently shaking it as if the signal might fall back into place. Down on the street, a rideshare driver sits frozen at the intersection, staring at an app that no longer delivers rides. In a small kitchen somewhere, a mother tries to transfer tuition money to her child, then goes still when the screen flashes, unable to connect. In an office across town, dozens of employees look at one another as the login system fails, emails refuse to load, everything halting without warning. Everyone thinks it will be a few minutes. But what if it is not a few minutes? Not a few hours? What if the internet does not return by noon, does not return tonight, but disappears for 30 days? 30 days without messages asking how you are. 30 days without digital banking, without navigation maps, without video calls to someone halfway across the world. 30 days in which the world falls into an unnatural silence. What would be the very first thing you lose? 8:30 a.m. The city is still as crowded as ever, but something feels slightly out of rhythm. Inside a glass office tower downtown, dozens of employees sit in front of their computer screens, hands resting on keyboards with no idea what to type. The system will not log in. Emails refuse to load. The management software displays a single cold message, unable to connect to server. A few people laugh, saying the fiber line must be down again. Others take the opportunity to pour another cup of coffee, thinking this is just a rare, unexpected break. But the laughter does not last long. When the work of an entire company depends on an invisible line of connection, silence begins to feel heavy. Out on the street, a delivery driver pulls over to the curb, opening his app again and again. No orders, no map, no customers. He watches the traffic flow past, feeling as if he has been cut loose from the rhythm of the city. Every minute that passes makes dinner a little thinner. In a small apartment, an influencer adjusts the lights, applies her makeup carefully, and presses the Go Live button as she does every day. The screen will not connect. She tries again. And again. The familiar comments, the floating hearts, all of it gone. The room suddenly feels strangely quiet, as if the digital noise had never existed at all. Across the city, people begin to sense the same realization, though no one dares to say it out loud. They reassure one another. It is only temporary. It will be back by noon. It will be fine this afternoon. The first day is not panic. It is irritation. An irritation small enough to dismiss, yet large enough to remind us that we have grown used to living in a world that is always connected. Day 3. The city is no longer laughing. At the ATM on the corner, a line of people stands waiting in silence. The screen flashes an error. Cards go in, then slide back out. Again. And again. No one raises their voice, but the looks in their eyes have changed. It is no longer irritation. It is worry. Inside the supermarket, small signs reading QR payments temporarily unavailable are taped hastily to the counters. Young customers open their wallets, flipping through cash like a habit they have not used in years. A college student stands at the checkout line, cheeks flushed when she realizes she does not have enough paper bills to pay for her weekend groceries. At the seaport, hundreds of containers sit motionless, like lifeless blocks of metal. No tracking system, no updated orders. Trucks line up for miles, with no one certain where they are supposed to go. The supply chain, once running smoothly like a bloodstream, is now clogging piece by piece. But the fear does not begin at the supermarket. It does not begin at the bank. It begins in a hospital corridor. A mother sits on a plastic bench, her phone in her hands. She has been trying all morning to transfer payment for her child's hospital bill. The screen shows only one message: unable to connect. Inside the emergency room, Her child is waiting for medication. Time does not wait for the network to return. At the admissions desk, staff members explain that electronic records cannot be accessed. Medical histories vanish behind a blank white screen. Nurses search through old paper files, writing down information by hand as if the world has rolled back years. No one is screaming, no one is breaking things. It is a quiet panic spreading outward, from the ATM to the hospital bed, from the checkout counter to the shipping dock. People are beginning to understand that the most frightening loss is not social media. It is the invisible system that has been keeping everything running. Week 1. No one says it is just a temporary outage anymore. The stock exchange announces a suspension of trading until further notice. The numbers that once flickered and danced every second now stand frozen, like a heart forced to stop beating. Investors sit in front of dark screens, not knowing where their assets are, whether they still exist or have already vanished. At the seaport, massive cargo ships remain anchored offshore. Containers are stacked high, motionless. No tracking systems, no import or export orders. The global supply chain, once operating with minute-by-minute precision, is now severed like a rope cut without warning. Inside supermarkets, shelves begin to thin out. Rice, instant noodles, bottled water disappear faster than ever. People push their carts with greater urgency, casting cautious glances at one another. No one wants to panic, but everyone wants to be prepared. Outside bank branches, long lines form as people wait to withdraw cash. The steady whir of money-counting machines echoes like a drumbeat of unease. A middle-aged man grips a stack of bills in his hand, sweat soaking through his collar, unsure whether it will still hold value tomorrow. When the internet disappears, news no longer travels across screens. It travels by word of mouth, through the coffee shop at the end of the alley, through whispers in an elevator. Rumors grow larger than facts, and facts have no way to be verified. Some say the power grid is about to fail. Others claim the banks will close for an extended period. Some believe this is a massive global cyber attack. The city lights still shine at night. Cars still move along the roads, but the rhythm has changed. An economy does not collapse with a single loud crash. It fractures little by little, like a massive machine missing its most essential gear. Week 2. The world is no longer running. It slows down, like someone waking up after a long fever. In a small kitchen, dinner is served. No one places a phone beside their plate. No screens light up in the middle of a conversation. The father talks about his workday in real words, not rushed text messages. The child looks up to listen, asks questions, then laughs. The silences that were once filled by notification sounds are now filled by eye contact. Out in the alley, children begin to gather. No one sends a message in a group chat. They knock on each other's doors, calling their friends outside. Laughter echoes under the streetlights, rolling across the concrete. Old games are remembered, new rules invented on the spot. A city once dominated by the noise of engines now carries the sound of running feet and bright voices calling out to one another. Radios, long forgotten on dusty shelves, are turned on again. News broadcasts over FM waves become the primary source of information. People sit close to small speakers, listening carefully to every word. No scrolling, no constant updates, just a steady voice, enough to quiet an entire neighborhood. At night, adults bring chairs out to the end of the block. There is no group chat to discuss apartment issues. They talk face to face. They check in on one another, share food, discuss how to support the elderly, how to keep the area safe. Things that once felt outdated suddenly become essential. The internet disappears, and amid the unresolved difficulties, something unexpected happens. People begin to see each other more clearly, to hear each other more fully. The world is no longer fast, but in its slowness, something deeply human begins to return. Week 3. The fragile calm begins to crack. We once believed the internet was just social media, just videos, just endless conversations. But by now, people understand that was only the surface. Beneath it lies a massive structure the naked eye cannot see. Banks are not simply losing transactions. Interbank payment systems are paralyzed. The flow of money between nations slows as if blood has stopped circulating. Businesses that were still standing begin to run out of capital, not because they are unprofitable, but because their funds are trapped somewhere inside a system that has gone dark. The modern power grid is no longer just wires and substations. It is coordinated by data, balancing loads minute by minute. When the control networks are disrupted, certain areas begin to flicker. Lights go out, then return, then go out for longer. In the darkness, people search for candles and flashlights and begin to feel that ancient human fear of the night. In the sky, flights steadily decrease. No real-time weather updates, no synchronized navigation systems. Airlines are forced to cancel routes because safety can no longer rely on the silent lines of code operating behind the scenes. In space, satellites continue orbiting the Earth, but the data they transmit no longer reaches its destination. Digital maps disappear. Positioning systems lose accuracy. Ships at sea must rely on older methods, reading charts, navigating by the stars, as if the world has stepped back decades. The internet is not a convenience. It is the nervous system of humanity, invisible electrical signals traveling through the body of civilization. When that nervous system shuts down, the body still exists, but its reflexes slow. Its organs lose coordination. And for the first time, humanity understands that we have entrusted too much to something we cannot see, cannot touch, yet depend on more than our own breath. Day 30. The city wakes up in an unspoken state of anticipation. 30 days without notifications. 30 days without instant connection. People have learned to live more slowly, yet deep down, everyone wonders whether today will be different. A man picks up his phone as he does every morning. No expectations, just a leftover habit. He looks at the corner of the screen. If, in that moment, the signal bars suddenly reappear, if Wi-Fi lights up, if messages flood in, hundreds of notifications crashing down like a heavy storm, the world would weep in silence. Banks would restart their systems. Trading floors would light up again. Airplanes would prepare for takeoff. People would embrace one another, relieved yet shaken, as if waking from a long dream and unsure whether they learned anything from it. But what if the screen remains dark? What if, after 30 days, no signal returns? No explanation? No announcement from any government or corporation? Just a cold truth that the internet is gone forever. At that moment, humanity stands at a crossroads. Panic and collapse, or rebuild from the ground up, with new cables, new systems, a different way of living. Children who have grown used to playing under streetlights may no longer clearly remember the feeling of waiting for notifications. Families who have grown accustomed to speaking face-to-face may not want to return completely to the way things were. Day 30 is not merely the end of a trial. It is a question about the future. If the internet truly vanished tomorrow, would you want it back immediately? Or would you hesitate for a moment, wondering whether that slower world was worth preserving, at least in part?